During his time as a landscape architecture student at the University of Oregon, Chauncey Freeman traveled to Japan and became very familiar with the type of garden known to us here in the States as a Japanese garden. He brought home a keen understanding of the harmony, balance, simplicity, and reverence for nature inherent in Japanese gardens. When he started his own garden here in Eugene 10 years ago, he used that understanding of Japanese garden design to create something truly magical. There's no fence on this one, but you can come with me as we go over the ivy slope. Great to meet you, Chauncey.
Nice to meet you, Donna.
Yeah, thanks for having us on Over the Fence. I was really excited to see that you have this garden here in Eugene. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, welcome to the garden. And I moved to this house, 10 years ago in 2014. And it was basically a traditional ranch-style home. It had a lawn in the front, a small lawn in back, and a big overgrown slope that was filled with blackberries and some giant rhododendrons. So what you're seeing here today is pretty much everything that I've planted, and I can point out the few trees that are older than me that I haven't planted, but I've pretty much planted everything except like 4 or 5 trees on this property. So.
And I noticed like the ivy too, which is that was probably here when you came?
Yep, so I call this my lawn because it's green and it keeps the erosion from the slope from happening during the winter months. So it was here. I didn't plant it, but I have decided not to take it out, even though it is considered an invasive species and disliked by many people in the Pacific Northwest. I happen to love my ivy lawn.
I love that you chose not to fight it and get a million headaches over it, but you worked with it.
Yeah, it's exhausting work pulling out ivy, and it was something I decided I didn't want to tackle.
Yeah, especially because I have done some gardening for your neighbor, so I understand the seriousness of that slope and just planting on that.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty unique site. From the house, we're about 20 feet above street level, so there really is no presence in the front of the house to the street. So it provides all this privacy and really makes a private kind of courtyard effect up in the front yard.
That's awesome.
Which you'll see later.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah, and then you have this wonderful guard dog here.
Yep,
Can you tell us about that?
It's an antique piece that my partner Ashley and I picked up at an antique shop, and we thought he just looked wonderful there to greet and protect.
I love it. And then he just, like his little fur plays in so well with the needles here on these trees.
Yeah.
These are 2 different specimens, right?
2 different specimens of Japanese white pine.
Beautiful.
This one is Goldilocks, and the new growth on this particular variety is tinged with a beautiful gold color.
I see.
So it really contrasts with the blue.
Wow.
And then behind it is a weeping purple beech, and believe it or not, I planted that probably less than 10 years ago, and it's really become a statement piece at the corner of the driveway. My goal is that eventually some of these branches will kind of weep over the driveway here, and it'll create like another layer to that back half of the yard as you're coming up.
And this is a Dawn Redwood?
It is. This one is very special. It's probably one of my favorite trees, first tree I planted, and the variety is called Ogon. So it comes out this beautiful chartreuse yellow in the springtime, and then you can see it's just starting to get its fall color, which goes into that nice orange, burnt orange color.
Wow, beautiful.
But it's so ferny and soft. And it's a deciduous conifer, which is unique, and a plant from the Jurassic period, which I think is very unique. I was actually over in Fossil, Oregon, and you can find rocks, and if some of them are split open, and then they've got a little fossilized leaflet of this tree back from when dinosaurs were in Oregon. So.
Oh, and then we have like a sea of grasses here. That's a nice choice to do that.
Sea of grasses. And so the concept was this used to be just one big lawn, and then there were some tufts of little creeping spruce, and you could just look right out, and there was nothing here. So I wanted this textural, layered garden that brought in all the different colors all year long. So if you'll notice, this garden's pretty heavy on conifers.
Yeah.
And that really plays into these different elements of texture and color. And that gives you 4 seasons of interest.
That's awesome.
So even once all these beautiful colors are gone with fall, you really, the conifers become the highlight of the garden,
That's
which is
awesome.
pretty neat.
And that's why it was one of the reasons I was so excited to tour this garden. You sent me some pictures, and there's so many conifers, and you know, it takes guts, I guess, because for me, it's like they take so long to grow, and then at a certain point, they're the size that you want them to be, and then they keep growing.
So when I first planted this, it looked pretty pitiful. I really did it on kind of a shoestring. It's grown in very nicely now. You never know that. But when you do plant with conifers, I think it's really nice that most of them are dwarf. And that's because you get this longer period of enjoyment out of it. So if you plant something that grows super fast and is like your ideal height in 1 or 2 years, I mean, what are you going to do after 3 years when that plant's too big? So even as this garden's growing in, like, I'm probably going to think about maybe removing 1 or 2 of these cypress just because the garden kind of loses a little bit of scale and I want to keep it layered.
Oh, okay.
So that's always something you can consider as well.
And I always imagine, like, you know, that they're little creatures, like the coniferous plants really just speak to me in that way.
Yeah, they're really fun to work with from a design standpoint because the way they grow is so specific. So none of these, like these balls right here, which is a variety of the Sitka spruce called papoose.
Okay.
So it is naturally this beautiful globe shape, and I don't clip it like that. It just stays like that. And it's a really nice contrast for something that's more open and pyramidal, or like this weeping giant sequoia, which is real amorphous and kind of has like a, I don't know, a goblin or like they really, each tree, each variety of this tree, I think is particularly, has its own personality.
Oh, absolutely.
Just by the way it grows. I mean, they're all different and
Yeah.
they're all so unique. It's one of my favorites as well.
And you just have so many forms and textures and colors, but you marry them together so beautifully.
Thank you.
Do you have any tips for someone like trying to create such a feat of composition like that?
Yeah, so I've been a landscape designer for the past 15 years, and kind of one of my favorite things to do when I see plants that look good with other plants, that's their companion. So like these bright edge yuccas here, I really like next to this barberry that grows columnar and has that dark purple color. I like that contrast. I like the different texture, like a thick blade next to a fine needled something. So kind of as I've been expanding my knowledge, I like make notes. I'm like, looks good with X. And I make that note and kind of file that away as to what my preferred companion plants are. I've always thought of planting like, does it have good color? Is it evergreen? Does it bloom? Does it have spring color or fall color? And like the more things that a plant can check off in those categories, it's like the better the plant. So this was kind of a fun little space. It's a little entertaining space right off the front door of the house. I've enjoyed this to come out and eat dinner. I've got these string lights up here that provide some glow during the evening.
Uh-huh.
So it really becomes this inviting space, little fountain to give you a little bit of noise and
yeah, it really is
make
wonderful.
it feel like a sanctuary.
And I love the agaves with the barberries behind them.
Yep, agaves, they're really cool for that textural aspect. They don't grow real great in Oregon. You can see I've got my empty pot right there, and then my struggling one here, and my one that's done perfectly well in the center. But yeah, they're a fun plant to try and keep.
To try, right?
Yep.
You sent me some pictures too of your garden illuminated at night. How do you choose what to illuminate? I mean, is that kind of...
That's a great question. So something that I've learned as my years of being a designer, you want to light paths to make it easy to navigate your garden at night. And then I like to highlight specific trees, but you're not highlighting all the trees. You want contrast between light and dark. And that's what gives you the most play, trying to create some shadows, something twiggy with something solid. To give you that contrast.
Nice.
I always end up adding more. I always go a little skimpy to start with and then see what needs extra light. So I ended up backlighting this little brick wall here.
Cool.
And so these barberries are kind of illuminated from the base, and you get a little bit of shadow through this wall. Just kind of creates a dynamic effect in the garden.
And the jasmine must be so nice.
Yep, that's super fragrant in the summertime.
Beautiful.
And like my goal was to have it climb up this post, and it actually did it. Like I have not intervened, and that's just what the plant wanted to do, and I've been so happy that...
Do you whisper sweet nothings to your plants at night?
Well, I think they're all happy that they're together, and...
Yeah, with the density, huh?
Yeah. So I've got a really special space out here, and it's this structure. And
cool.
It was actually inspired by the one at Hendricks Park. I don't know if you know that kind of zigzag bench.
I do, really well.
But I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, that is just an awesome structure. I really love the design, but it's functional too. Like when you're sitting in the swings, that's actually quite a bit of momentum. So if you'll notice, like if you're swinging, then it's braced. Like the whole system is cross-braced. So it's a very structurally sound design as well as kind of this beautiful zigzag. So this path used to actually end right here.
Oh.
And these were some old rhododendrons that I took out to create this new space.
This is great.
So it's just a really great spot. Come out here in the summertime and...
Do you do your best thinking here?
Yeah, it's a great thinking spot.
Maybe there's something about the egg shape too that helps you to
I think
hone
just
in.
like a little swing.
Yeah.
Like kind of takes you back to childhood and is real comforting.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then such a great view too. This is a really beautiful kind of contorted tree, which is my favorite shape. I don't know if it was supposed to be like that, or did a bird just land on it?
No, so that is
another white pine, maybe.
Another white pine, Pinus strobus pendula.
Wow.
And this one, so it's naturally weeping, and I've been kind of clipping and shaping it to create this archway over the path.
So will it just kind of like end there at some point and keep going
up?
So
I've done these in previous gardens, and yeah, they just keep going. So it will create this beautiful umbrella.
Wow. But will you actually be able to train it down on that side?
It will eventually grow down. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's kind of weird how, the growth is real kind of haphazard. So like I clip it a little bit to kind of decide which way I want it to go, but eventually it will get there.
Cool. And it's such a nice kind of foresty look. Are those cedars that you planted?
Yep, so that's a selection of the western red cedar called giant green.
Oh, okay.
So they'll get bushy and kind of fill in that understory space.
And not get as tall as your typical western red cedar?
No.
No.
Yep,
Okay.
it's usually used for hedging. But I'm kind of using them as standalone species here.
Oh, nice.
So this is the newest section of the garden. And my first little planting here failed. This is a pretty problematic spot.
Oh.
Just because it's it's really shady, but then as the sun sets, it gets a blast of hot afternoon sun. So it's shady, dry, and then also really hot in the afternoon in the summer. So I've been kind of struggling with what to grow here, and this is like my second or third attempt to get something going. So
you've landed on some Formios and Hebes, and what are the ones in between the Hebes?
There's some...
Or the Veronicas, I guess.
Yeah, there's some gooms in here. This is that little daisy. It's real airy, so I imagined these Hebes would be more structural and evergreen along with the Formiums, and then this will kind of lend an airy aspect in the summertime out here.
And that one is really awesome too.
Yeah, the contorted cotoneaster.
That's been there a little while though, it looks like.
Yep, that's been there about 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the Daphne is kind of right on the edge of that spot, huh?
Yep.
Does it get the same sunblast?
Well, it does, but it's more protected. These trees are shading it a little bit. It's like probably only an hour or two that it gets that hot sun.
And this is so beautiful.
Yeah, a little Virginia creeper.
Nice.
I'm imagining that kind of crawling across these cross braces and just softening the wood form.
Is that just turning this color in fall, or is it always?
Fall. Okay. So it's green like this through summer, and then it will turn the vibrant red and orange.
It's cool how it's just moving its way up red.
Yeah, and this is a really cool plant because you can see it gets these little suction cups on it. So like I haven't attached it to the post here. It just naturally attaches itself with those little feet and
it almost
keeps
looks
growing.
Like you stapled it at like regular intervals.
I think those are the little growth joints, so it's kind of defoliated on the lower section here. But
cool.
Yeah, an awesome plant where you can use it.
Yeah, and I love how you just use drifts of different types of grasses.
Really adds a nice softness to the garden, especially when the wind blows in the summertime, an extra element so all the grasses will disappear as soon as we get our first frost, and I'll have those cut back, and then you'll be left with the conifers. But during the summer, it like really fills in.
Is that a piece of wood?
It's another sculpture. I've got a lot of different sculptures here. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's 2 pieces of driftwood, and then there's a joint in there, so like you can move this top piece around.
Looks like a sea creature.
Yeah, just kind of some fun play for the garden.
Yeah, and a beautiful water basin. Yeah,
so this is a reflection bowl, and you kind of get these beautiful reflections of whatever is behind it.
You really do.
Kind of imagine this being viewed from inside the house, kind of bringing it back down to a lower scale. Kind of a nice little intimate moment as you pass along the path.
Beautiful. And then you just have this little stink bug just hopping out.
Yep. Another one of the sculptures.
Yeah, make it a little connected to the earth in that way too. Beautiful. I mean, do you have to worry about mosquitoes with such a thing?
So when I come through and blow off my paths, I'll actually take my leaf blower, blow the water out, and then the sprinklers refill it. In the winter, nature refills it for me.
Okay. Those little hacks, like using your leaf blower, I never really thought of that. And yeah, exactly. You're watering the plants around it too.
So as we make our way back here, all the paths on the property are this kind of open crushed rock, which allows the water to drain right through. And in the front, I've bordered it with steel. And then as we transition to the backyard, I've bordered them with larger chunks of basalt. So you'll kind of notice that transition as we...
Oh, hi garden lovers! Cameraman Franklin here, and I'm also the creator of the Mystic Smith Craft Studio. As a way of saying thank you for your support and for watching these videos, we wanted to do a little giveaway where you have the chance of winning one of these handcrafted mushrooms made by yours truly. To do it, simply just share this video with 5 of your garden-loving friends, and then in the comments, write your favorite thing about Chauncey's garden. In the comment, also, don't forget to write the words mushroom giveaway so we know that you've watched to the very end of this video. At the end of November, we'll randomly choose whoever's participated, and then we'll send you out one of these lovely ornaments that you can use to adorn your garden. So thanks for watching, and we appreciate you.